The New York Knicks have some interesting trade and also free agency targets this off summer. And that is what we're going to be discussing in this video. The likes of John Wall, Kelly Oubre. They definitely are interested in a point guard. There's rumors that they could be interested in Chris Paul if he opts out of his contract. They also could potentially be in on some Lowry sweepstakes as well if he ends up being involved in free agency and does not return to the Raptors, as a point guard is their primary concern, and a good veteran point guard. The likes of Kristaps Porzingis, although unlikely he goes back to the Knicks, is the type of team that maybe the Knicks take him on. There's a lot of different possibilities here for the Knicks, and so that is what we're going to be talking about in today's video, what I think is likely and how impactful or beneficial they are to the team moving forward. If you guys do like this type of NBA content, then consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you are new. With that being said, let's get into it. And so, the New York Knicks only have $54 million in committed spending in this upcoming season. Now, they only have 6 rotational players that are under contract for next season, so they do have to re-sign a ton of guys, the likes of Derrick Rose, Ntilikina, Burks, Elfrid Payton, Nerlens Noel, Reggie Bullock, and Taj Gibson are all free agents in this upcoming offseason. And so they are going to have to spend a fair bit to bring back some players to either retain some of this group or bring in some other options off of the bench and to fill in their starting lineup. But nonetheless, they do have a lot of options to play around with this summer, and that's why we're seeing them floated around in a lot of rumors. Most specifically in the last couple of days, a potential John Wall trade, as well as potentially being interested in acquiring Kelly Oubre, who is a free agent this offseason. And so, specifically with Kelly Oubre, he's a weird one to me. I think he's going to get overpaid personally. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not anything special, as you've seen with the Warriors this year. He's very up and down. He's inconsistent. He has some very good moments and very bad moments. Julius Randle is still on this team, or DeBarrett is still on this team, so maybe they want Kelly Oubre to be that 3 and slide in between them. But for someone that you're probably going to have to play $15+ million a year, I just don't think he's worth it personally. That's up for debate, I guess, on how well you value Kelly Oubre Jr., but I just don't think he's worth it. I don't think it's a smart signing, and I would advise the Knicks to stay away from that. I think bringing back Reggie Bullock on a much smaller deal just makes more sense to me moving forward. As much as Kelly Oubre probably is a bit of an upgrade, I just think if you have to give him any length of a contract, I think it just locks the Knicks into spending money and locking up their potential cap space in moving years on someone that just isn't really worth it. The John Wall scenario is interesting, however. He obviously, of course, still has that very large contract. He still has 2 more years under his contract, the last year being a player option. And I would think he probably opts into that to guarantee himself $47 million. And so the Knicks definitely have the cap roll to absorb this type of salary. They wouldn't even have to really give up any contracts if they didn't want to. And in fact, they could probably get a pick from Houston to get rid of him. It might be a couple of seconds. It might be a first. Or, I mean, Houston's going to be a high first. It's unlikely to get one of Houston first. Maybe they get a Brooklyn first via the James Harden trade. But this is something that the Knicks could be interested in. Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks are very much wanting to and are interested in bringing in a veteran point guard. That's why we've seen them linked with John Wall. This is why we've seen them be in discussions where if Chris Paul does opt out of his contract this summer and becomes a free agent, then the Knicks are one of the teams that could lead the charge for him, because they are one of the few teams in the league that are going to have the money to be able to pay him the near max on whatever term he wants deal. He's probably going to want a 2 or 3 year deal on maximum money or near maximum money, and the Knicks are one of the few teams that can offer him that, and are one of the teams that are in the most need of a starting point guard as they look to replace Elfrid Payton this summer. Definitely the weak point of their offense, their team, and as far as the starting lineup goes, and if they can get themselves a much better scoring point guard, then that is the place to be. That's where they need to improve. Another option that they could potentially look at point guard is Kyle Lowry. I don't know how much interest he has with regards to going to the Knicks. Of course, when he first got to Toronto, however many years ago, 5-6 years ago, there were some rumors that he was going to be traded to the Knicks. Talks fell through, and then of course he fell in love with the city of Toronto from there. He hadn't really fully been embraced by the fans, and he hadn't fully embraced Toronto yet, but then of course that fully changed. But I don't know if there's still an interest there for him to go to the Knicks. Of course, I'm sure he'd like to go back home to Philly. He has a good relationship with Jimmy Butler and reportedly would have some interest in going to Miami. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks inquire on Kyle Lowry in their hope to try and acquire a veteran point guard. And I think this would be a very good acquisition for them. It's good veteran leadership. It's good scoring. It adds some playmaking. A very good leader, a winner. And so I think it would be very good for the Knicks as well. Another veteran point guard who has to be considered is Mike Conley. Mike Conley is also set to be a free agent this summer. Lots of point guards that could potentially be free agents this summer. And so at age 33, it is going to be interesting to see what type of salary he can get. He's had his first All-Star appearance now this year with Utah. He continues to be very good. He had a much better season this year than he did last year in his first season under Utah. A very good bounce-back season. And he's probably going to want significant money again this summer. Now, he's probably not going to get that max or near-max deal that he got with Memphis 5 years ago. He got $34.5 million this season. He's probably not going to get that this summer. But he's definitely going to probably look for something 25 mil plus, in and around that range. And again, the Knicks are someone that could give it to him. Now, Utah very well might resign him. He might have an interest in staying with Utah, especially if they can go on a deep playoff run here, continue their good series against the Clippers, and get themselves on a deep run to the playoffs. But I think the Knicks will definitely be inquiring about Mike Conley as well if he becomes available on the open market to them. Some of the other free agent point guards that are also available this summer are the likes of Goran Dragic, if the Miami Heat decide not to pick up his club option, which remains to be seen. He has a payroll of $18 million next year, and it's kind of unsure as to whether Miami will pick that up or not. If I had to say so, I would say they do pick that up, but that remains to be seen. Dennis Schroeder is also set to be an unrestricted free agent, and it's not a given that he will return to the Lakers. I think he has interest to come back, but after a poor playoff showing and a bit of an up and down season for Dennis Schroeder, I don't think it's a given that the Lakers bring him back. The Lakers are also looking to trade away Caruso. They might look to trade away Kuzma, and so there might be a big shift of personnel around the big two in the Lakers organization this summer, and Dennis Schroeder could be part of that. And then there's also Spencer Dinwiddie. Now, he does have a player option of $11.4 million, and I almost would have guaranteed that he would have opted out of that before his injury. After he had played so well, he definitely would have gotten more money from that. But he might opt into some guaranteed money to play a bit more next year now and show and remind the league that he's healthy and he is still a very good player before he gets that next paycheck. And the other option that the New York Knicks can also look at, and should heavily look at in my opinion, is Lonzo Ball, who's going to be a restricted free agent. He could slide right into their team alongside RJ Barrett, be a good point guard for them to lead their team, very good in the fast break, which the Knicks can do very well and get out and run. Very good playmaker, very good catch and shoot guy as well, which works well with Julius Randle having the ball quite often. And so I think our Lonzo Ball would also be a very good fit for this team. He would come in at around 15 to 18 million, I would guess. And so that's kind of the options that the New York Knicks have at point guard this summer. These are the options I'm sure they are looking at, some of the options they are rumored to be looking at. And this is the priority for the Knicks this offseason, in my opinion. They need to improve their point guard position to improve the performance of this roster, because Elfrid Payton cannot be your starting point guard. And then if they do bring back Derrick Rose, he's best suited as a sixth man at this point in time in his career, in my opinion. He is a scorer, and I think having him as a sixth man is the best way to go about it. But let me know what you guys think the Knicks should look to do in free agency this summer, who their best options are. Should they make a John Wall trade? Personally, I would think not, unless they get heavily compensation back alongside John Wall. That's a lot of salary to take in for another 2 years. But there's some other good options. What free agency you think they should look at? Do you think there's other positions other than point guard they should prioritize on the roster? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one.